Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my chopping block update where I'm letting you know about all the products that I will be keeping and what products I will be decluttering from my chopping block series. If you guys missed the introduction to that video, I will leave it linked down below, and in that video I leave linked a bunch of other channels that are currently doing chopping block series on their channel as well. So if you like this type of series, you can find links to other people doing it in that video. Essentially, I selected a bunch of makeup products from my collection that I just wasn't sure really fit into my collection anymore, set them aside and really tested them out over the course of the last month or so and decided whether or not they're going to be chopped or decluttered from my collection, or whether or not I do like them and I want to keep using them. So if you guys are interested in seeing my thoughts on the items that I selected for chopping block episode 1, then just keep watching. Alright guys, up first I had one primer that I was deciding on, and that was my Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, the color adjusting one, and I obviously have the green. I just have it in the little deluxe size sample. I was kind of swindled into purchasing this when I ended up buying the Urban Decay All-Nighter. I bought it actually at a Macy's counter, and the gal was like, oh, like, you have redness on your face, do you want to purchase this primer? And I'm just like a sucker for things like that, so I ended up purchasing this but rarely used it. And honestly, using this over the course of the last month, I only used it a couple of times and I just do not need this anymore. It's not a favorite. I don't love to use it. I prefer to reach for other primers over this. I did at the beginning of the year post a makeup inventory, and I'm currently doing like a makeup rehab series on my channel where I'm just talking about like my spending habits from month to month. So I'm trying to reduce most of my makeup inventory numbers from category to category to just really curate my collection to something that I truly love, and this is just not something I truly love, so I'm going to be decluttering this. You guys will have to forgive my makeup, specifically my contour in this video. One of the items that I used for contour today was one of the items that is in here. I was using it one last time and it fooled me as usual, and now I'm looking at the viewfinder and I'm like, oh, glad I'm deciding to get rid of that. But let's talk about the foundations that I was deciding on. So first I have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. I have mine in the shade Rose Ivory, and even though the formula on this is okay to me, it seriously just smells so strongly that like the last time I opened this I almost gagged. So I am going to be decluttering this. Unfortunately, like I said, even though it's a pretty good formula, it just smells like paint thinner and I can't deal with that. Now I know they did just recently release a photo focus foundation stick. I would be interested in trying that, although I'm not a huge fan of stick foundations. We'll be talking about this one next. If you guys have tried the photo focus stick foundation, let me know what your thoughts are, but this is another one that I will be getting rid of. The other foundation that I was testing out was, not really testing out, but deciding whether or not I wanted to keep, was the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation, and I have mine in the shade Porcelain, which I think the reason that I have disliked this so much is because I think the shade is just a hair too light for me. I have been mixing this with a little bit of a darker foundation, my NARS, I don't have it sitting right by me, but my NARS, I don't know, it's the one that everyone raves about. One of my NARS foundations I've mixed this with, and I just cannot get myself to get rid of this or to declutter this, you guys. And I think it's because this is the most, with the exception of the Giorgio Armani foundation that I didn't love but forced myself to finish, this is the most expensive or the most money that I paid for a foundation, and I just cannot get myself to declutter this. I think I can make this work now, whereas before I really wasn't even finding a way to make it work. I think I can find ways to make this work until I use this up. So this one is gonna stick around in my collection. I just had one concealer. It was my Flower Beauty Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. Now I am gonna end up keeping this, but what I will say is I really I'm not a huge fan of the doe foot on this, just because it's very thick, or stiff is the word I'm looking for, and if you're not like super light-handed, it can drag underneath your eye and be like a little bit painful. However, I do feel that this is a very hydrating concealer, and I can make it work for me in ways that I like. It's not my favorite concealer. I won't repurchase this once I finish it, but I do like it enough to keep it in my collection. I had one powder. It was the Tarte Smooth Operator Amazonian Clay Finishing Powder. This was something that I got in an Ipsy bag and I just had never tried, so I wanted to give it a try, and I like this one a 2 enough to keep it. Now, it's not my favorite powder of all time, but it's not too drying underneath my eyes and it doesn't make me look super crepey, so I am going to also be keeping this. Okay, so for bronzer and contour, the contour that's currently on my cheeks that I think is just too intense, just not the right shade for me, comes from this little e.l.f. duo in the shade St. Lucia. This is what it looks like. I always am super hopeful that this is going to work for me, but I just think the shade is a little bit too dark and it's just too intense. I even tried to go over this with powder to fix it and I just could not get it to work in a way that I liked. So I want to see if they still sell this and if there's a lighter shade. I think I meant to buy a different shade and I ended up going with the one that was a little bit darker. And then there's also this blush, but what's so random is you get like the darker contour shade and then you get this blush that like barely shows up on my super pale skin. So this formula is also super powdery. I think this was only like, it was either $3 or $6, so very inexpensive. And if you can find a shade that works for you, I think it's worth it. But for me, this is just not something I can get to work for me, so I'm going to be decluttering this one. For bronzer, I had the Tarte Park Avenue Princess bronzer, and this is another one that I got in an Ipsy and just hadn't even tried. And I gotta say, I am glad I put this in the chopping block because I have kind of fallen in love with this bronzer. I really like this and I think it's a little bit dark for me. I think this is going to be even better for me in the summertime when I'm a little bit more tan. I don't get super tan in the summer, but I definitely have a little bit more color to my skin. I don't know if this is one that I would repurchase once I finish. When I first started using it, I was like, oh, I like this, but not one that I'll repurchase. But over time, I've grown to love this even more. So this might be one even that would be a repurchase after I get through this. I know that this is a mini, but minis still, like a mini bronzer takes me a year to get through. So it'll be a long time since I would even have to repurchase this, but I really have been enjoying this. For blush, I had this blush by Note, which I believe I got in a BoxyCharm. This is in the shade Desert Rose. My packaging is broken. So this is what it looks like. It's a really beautiful shade, but unfortunately this is just a little bit too powdery and it's too pigmented for my skin. I could not get this to work for me without making me look like I had clown cheeks. I think if you had more of a medium to deep complexion, this would work for you, but this does not work for me and my blush collection is out of control anyway, so I need to get rid of some blushes and this is one that I'm going to declutter. I had two highlights. The first was a liquid highlight. This is the Tarteist Pro Glow liquid highlighter. I do not like this. I don't like the consistency of this. I don't like how this looks on my cheeks, and in general, I'm not a huge fan of liquid highlights. I do really like the Cover FX Custom Enhancer drops, but outside of those, I'm not a huge liquid highlight sort of a fan, so I will definitely be decluttering this. And then I also had this highlighting face palette from Naked Cosmetics that I believe I got in a BoxyCharm. And as you can tell, it's more of like the holographic sort of fun highlights. When I put this into my chopping block, I originally thought that I was going to be decluttering this, but I actually really enjoy this. Not necessarily for a highlight from day to day, but I like to use these on my eyes. I've been having a ton of fun with purples lately. It's actually weird to see me like not with purple eyeshadow on. I've been filming with purple eyeshadow so much lately and I love this purple highlight. This is one that I even like to use on my cheeks sometimes when I am doing a purple look, but I love to go in with this one on my eyes. And then I also have this like pink shift one, which is so beautiful, and this one I can mix in with purple eye looks as well. Also this blue. Now this formula is a bit powdery, and I don't even know if you can still pick this up. It's not necessarily something that I'd be like, oh my god, you need to go run out and grab this. But if you have it in your collection or if you got it in that box, I don't know. I personally really enjoy it, especially for the use of like using it as an eyeshadow rather than a highlight. So I am going to be keeping this one. Speaking of eyeshadow, I had I had a try eyeshadow palette. I had two little palettes. First I have this one from NYX. I think I got this in some sort of box too. It comes with 3 shimmery shades that are really pretty, but unfortunately I just don't reach, like these are just lid toppers for me in my opinion, and I just find it to be more of a hassle to reach for this. I'd rather just reach into like an actual larger palette. So I am going to be decluttering this. And then this is the Lorac Caramel Love Affair Golden Eyeshadow Palette. I believe this came in like a set of 4 quite a while ago, and this is the only one that I still have left. And again, this one, these are all like satin or shimmer shades, and I just find it to be more of a hassle to reach in to this. And honestly, like all these shades are shades that I can get out of a lot of my palettes, so I don't feel the need to keep this any longer. I'm also going to be decluttering this. I also had a liquid shadow that I was considering decluttering. This is from Cover FX and it's in the shade Amethyst. This is like a pinky purple shade and I am going to keep this. I have been reaching into liquid shadows a little bit more lately and this really fits like my purple aesthetic or purple vibe that I've been going for lately, so I'm going to be keeping this one. I did have one product for brows. It was the Pixi by Petra Brow Tamer and I just do not like this. I'm going to declutter this. This just does not work and honestly it looks super gross. This just doesn't really hold my brows in place. It just feels like an extra step. I'd rather go in with the ABH brow gel that really does hold your brows in place. So unfortunately this didn't work for me and I'm going to declutter this. I had two different lip products. One is on my lips right now. This is the Nude Sticks Gel Color Lip and Cheek Balm in the shade J Mama. Now this is not my favorite formula, but I am going to hold on to this just because I do like the shade and it is a more hydrating formula. So if I want just like a little bit of color to my lips that's going to be hydrating, this is something that I can use. Now, do I think this is going to last me through like a meal or anything like that? Probably not. I feel like I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with transfer if I'm taking this out with me and like eating a meal or anything like that. Not necessarily on my teeth, but like kind of like it doesn't necessarily stay fully in your lip lines, but it is very hydrating. So I'm going to hang on to this. And then I also had this little Tarte Rainforest of the Sea lipstick mini. This came in a set 2 holidays ago. This is in the shade Jet Set. And it's a really, really pretty deep berry tone. I'm actually going to declutter this. I love this lipstick formula, but unfortunately this shade for some reason tends to transfer onto my teeth. And you got to be able to trust your lipstick. So I'm going to declutter this. This is still one of my favorite lipstick formulas. I just prefer more of like their nude shades. And honestly, if I want to use a shade like this, typically I'm reaching in for like a more matte type of a formula, whereas this is super hydrating. I'd rather just reach into a liquid lipstick for a shade like this rather than use something like this. So I'm going to be decluttering this. And then finally I had the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray. Now, the reason I was considering decluttering this is because this is literally like glitter spray. Like this is gonna put glitter on your face. So if I was just using this for the sole purpose of setting my face, I would not keep this. However, I think this might be a fun one to like spray on the body in the summertime. So I'm gonna hang on to this and try and like repurpose it for that type of a thing. I'm not gonna use this obviously to set my face because like I said, there's quite a bit of glitter in this. I would not recommend this unless you wanna use it as like a body spray. And that's like right up your alley. But I will hold on to this at least till the summertime and see if I can use it that way. Other than that, I would not keep this for a makeup setting spray. After that, that concludes all of the products that were on my chopping block for the month of February. I did end up keeping 8 products and decluttering 9, so I feel really good about that. This actually worked really, really well for me. So I have a really hard time sort of letting go or getting rid of things, and I felt like really forcing myself to like make a decision and really use the products consistently and decide whether or not they were for me really helped. So I'm definitely going to be doing a chopping block episode 2. Stay tuned for that. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to do so before you go. I post videos every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.